accumulated, and over the course of that stay, buried in pits. And each time people came back, they could see the field in clusters that they'd dug before. But they kept clear of them, not by a long way, but a little bit. And for whatever reason, they took care of a pile of settlement debris separate from the visible traces of older piles. And as a result, we have no lines joining the different clusters. So if this interpretation is along the right lines, what we have at Kilston is a place that people came back to again and again, maybe over 20, 40, 50 years. And each time, they avoided the physical traces of the past, digging a separate cluster of pits. But as they did this, it seems quite likely that they must have remembered some of the things they'd buried before, like Matt was saying. A particularly nicely decorated pot, the bones of that bad-tempered cow, the flakes left over after making a quiver of arrowheads. And so, in avoiding the physical traces of the past, ironically they reconnected to them, in terms of their thoughts at least. As ever with archaeology, what we see on this site is time compressed, or accumulated, in one place. 16 clusters, 138 pits. It takes a bit of thought to prise them apart in time, so that we can see one cluster being dug, then the next, and the next. It's interesting to think that once there were no pits, but at some point, for whatever reason, people did dig some. And maybe from then onwards, things changed. As a result, it became a slightly different place. It had pits, and of course memories too. I think that at Kilston, the interaction between pits, place and memory was probably a bit more subtle than the example I described at the beginning. I'm not sure that Neolithic people dangled boys into pits and beat them, so that they'd remember a particular place. But as I've discussed, while pits certainly altered a place physically, they would also have added to it metaphorically. I don't know that we'll ever understand why people dug pits, their reasons, but I do think we can begin to approach the effects that pit digging would have had. And I think it's here that the three stories I've told earlier can help a bit. Like the pit we dug in the Fellows Wilderness, it's very likely that the first cluster of pits dug at Kilston during the Neolithic did change people's attitudes to that place. It's important here not to see that first pit being dug on a blank sheet of paper, as I'm sure that people had visited that place for some time, altering it in ways that aren't as visible archaeology. Clearing undergrowth, starting fires, napping flint, things that we can't see. But digging pits was a different thing to do. And unlike the Tamils with their revolving egg, the people living at Kilston didn't fix traces of the past to objects and get rid of them. They actually buried those objects right where they were living. And those objects weren't eaten up by malevolent gods. Instead, like Jung's mannequin, they carried on existing, not up in an attic, but down under the ground in a pit. And perhaps, like Jung, the fact that people knew they were there made them feel differently about the place, even while they were away. And so when they returned, maybe it just seemed like a good idea to dig another cluster. New pits were dug, and different broken pots got buried. And material memories, pits, broken pots, that place, persisted. Thank you.